Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is almost upon us, and while the hype train has already left the station, we got so many questions after watching that final trailer. One of the big things on our minds is the Emperor's return. It's obvious that old Palpy's gonna be back, but it's unclear how or why. We got some ideas on how the Senate came back.
I am the Senate.
But more importantly, we think we figured out his evil master plan. Is it possible that the mysterious dagger that Rey has in the trailer is actually the dagger of Mortis? Could we see the godlike force beings known as the Ones in Episode 9? Confused? Good. Now, allow us to explain. At this point, it's pretty clear that Emperor Palpatine will show up in some capacity in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. The return was hinted at ever since the teaser, and in the recent Episode 9 trailer, we saw a glimpse of Palpatine facing Rey. Is he sitting in a floating chair, or will he be rocking robotic legs like Darth Maul in Clone Wars? Who knows? Maybe Sheev got himself a Hulkbuster armor, and the climax will be Darth Buster clashing with Captain Jar Jar. Okay, we really hope that one doesn't happen, but just imagine how furious the already angry Star Wars fans would get. While it's clear we'll see the Emperor's terrifying face once again in the final chapter of the Skywalker saga, we've got to wonder exactly how Palpatine will return, and more importantly, why. Is it just for the nostalgia? A way for Disney to satisfy the fans who hated The Last Jedi? Maybe. But let's not forget that the Emperor always had a looming presence in the whole Skywalker saga. He was, of course, the overarching villain of the original trilogy, and later in the prequels, we got to see a lot more of him, as he was pretty much the main villain. While Darth Sidious was absent in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, it was clear that his legacy played a huge role in those two films. And in fact, in this video, we'll suggest that he played a far bigger role in the new trilogy than you might think. Since Episode 9 will be the final chapter of the Skywalker saga, it makes sense that the Emperor will return for one last creepy laugh. We think we know how Palpatine returned, as well as his master plan, and that mysterious dagger that Rey's holding in the final trailer might have something to do with it. That dagger might connect to some heavy Star Wars lore that might shed some new light on the plot of The Rise of Skywalker. But before we talk about all that, first let's talk about how the Emperor might return to life. Death isn't a really big deal for powerful Jedi Masters. After all, they can turn into Force ghosts. But what about the evil Sith? Well, many Sith Lords found ways to achieve some type of resurrection in the Star Wars lore. In the stories told outside of the movies, we had Sith Lords using Dark Force magic, essence transfer, holocrons, and more to cheat death. Many Sith Lords were obsessed with immortality. Dark Lords such as Darth Bane and Darth Plagueis dedicated their lives to finding the secret to resurrection and eternal life. While some Sith Lords were able to cheat death, it always came at a price, and usually it didn't go very well for them. Some things are just not meant to be. One somewhat successful way was told in one of the recent canon stories. The Sith Lord Momin was able to achieve immortality by possessing an object of power. Momin learned how to manipulate the dark side energy in a way that allowed him to transfer his spirit into his mask, and anyone who wore it would be under Momin's control, which allowed him to pretty much gain immortality. Even if no one wore the mask, it could influence individuals in close proximity to it, and even corrupt them and turn them to the dark side. Considering the fact that Darth Sidious knew about Momin, it's possible he was able to do the same. Maybe he possessed Darth Vader's helmet after his death. It might explain how he was able to corrupt Kylo Ren. In the expanded universe stories, Darth Sidious was able to use essence transfer to come back to life multiple times. Before his death, the Emperor created clones of himself, and after being killed by Darth Vader, he was able to transfer his spirit into a clone body and survive his demise on the second Death Star. While he was able to cheat death, his dark energy was too much for the clones, as it ate away at his new bodies, causing them to degenerate quickly, which forced Palpatine to keep transferring his dark spirit into new clone bodies. We could see something like this go down in Episode 9. After all, Darth Sidious was responsible for the creation of the clone army, so it'll be a nice way to tie all three trilogies together. The Emperor is an extremely powerful Force user who possesses all kinds of terrifying abilities. The films barely scratched the surface when it comes to how much power he had and what a strategic mastermind he really was. One of his powers was the ability to see into the future, something that allowed him to always plan ahead and outsmart his enemies. So it's likely that he knew Vader would turn on him someday, so he had to take some precautionary measures to ensure his survival and immortality. Not only was Palpatine one of the most powerful Force users in history, he also had the entire Empire at his disposal, meaning he had almost endless resources. It's very possible that he invested all his knowledge and resources into finding out ways to cheat death. But maybe Sidious didn't just want to cheat death. Perhaps his ambitions were far greater than that. At this point, it's not very clear what the story of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker will involve. The trailers didn't really give away too many plot details, but that's not a bad thing. This isn't the type of film that needs to sell you with its plot because everyone's going to watch it anyway. That being said, we think the movie will dive deeper into the Star Wars lore more than any film before it. Many keen-eyed fans noticed a strange dagger in Rey's hand during her duel with Kylo Ren. There are already millions of theories online about this dagger, and many believe it's actually the Dagger of Mortis, a mystical weapon that was introduced in the Mortis arc in the Clone Wars animated series. The dagger is connected to the Ones, who are some of the most mysterious beings in the Star Wars lore, and they're pretty much godlike beings. The Ones lived on Mortis, which is a mystical realm within the Force. Some believe that the Force actually originated from Mortis. The dagger is a powerful artifact and weapon that could kill the Ones. Apparently, it's the only thing that could actually kill these powerful beings. Following some family drama between the Ones, who are the father, the son, and the daughter, the Dagger of Mortis was lost. The Ones come directly from the mind of George Lucas, and they're part of some heavy Star Wars lore that connect to the Journal of the Whills. While the dagger in Rey's hand doesn't look exactly like the Dagger of Mortis, it's possible that Lucasfilm simply changed the design for the film. Maybe they even altered its look for the trailers to avoid spoiling its true nature. Or maybe this dagger is a different Force artifact that serves the same purpose as the Dagger of Mortis. Considering we don't know the origins of the Mortis dagger, who's to say that there aren't more weapons like it in the galaxy? Regardless of whether it's the original Dagger of Mortis or another one, it's possible that Palpatine will attempt to become a Force being similar to the Ones. A sure way to cheat death is to become a godlike being, and we all know that when it comes to Palpatine, he won't let anyone or anything stand in his way to achieve eternal life. It's unclear how one could become an unkillable godlike Force being, but if anyone is ambitious enough to find out, it's Palpatine. There are some clues in the old Legends stories, but we're not sure if those rules apply in the new canon. If we're right with our theory, it's possible that while Palpatine will attempt to become a godlike being, Rey and friends will go on a quest to find the mystical dagger and end the Emperor once and for all. Who knows? Rey might have some connection to the Ones herself. After all, many Star Wars fans were unhappy with the reveal of Rey's origins in The Last Jedi, so it could be interesting if we find out that Rey is some godlike being. In the Aftermath book series, it was revealed that many years before his death, Palpatine sensed a strong presence in the unknown regions of the galaxy. We haven't yet learned what that presence was, but it's possible we'll finally find out in Episode 9. Before The Last Jedi, many fans were sure that Palpatine sensed Snoke, but now it's likely it was something else completely. It's possible that Snoke was nothing more than the Emperor's pawn. Maybe Snoke was controlled by Darth Sidious telepathically. Following the death of the Emperor, the remnants of the Empire traveled to the unknown regions, and some years later, the First Order emerged from that part of the galaxy. So it's possible that Palpatine was behind the First Order from the start, which makes him the true big bad of the new trilogy. It's very likely that what Palpatine sensed in the unknown regions was Mortis, or at least a version of it. In the Rebels animated show, it was made clear that Palpatine knew about the gods of Mortis. We believe that following his death in Return of the Jedi, Palpatine used essence transfer to move his spirit into a clone body. However, since his dark energy was too strong for his new clone body, Palpatine had to keep transferring his spirit to other clones. At the same time, he used his most loyal agents to explore the unknown regions in order to find Mortis. And it's possible that the mysterious Asgard-looking floating iceberg that we saw in the last trailer is actually Mortis. It's likely that by the time Rey confronts Palpatine, he'll already have achieved his goal of becoming a godlike being, hence the need for the dagger. It's also possible that in his new form, Palpatine will try to possess Rey and control her, which could result in that dark Rey vision from the trailers. How will Rey defeat a godlike Emperor Palpatine? Well, we guess we'll have to watch the film to find out. But you have to admit that it'll be amazing to see The Rise of Skywalker take such a deep dive into the Star Wars lore. It might end up making the film better and probably satisfy all those fans who've lost faith in the new Star Wars movies. Only time will tell if our theory is right, but until the film comes out, we can only hope. What do you think about all this? Do you think that the Mortis story will be used in Episode 9? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, show us some love by leaving a like and subscribing to CBR. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.